Hello aspirants, welcome back to part 5 of the most probable questions on UPSC 2025. Today we'll be discussing on volumes. We have a first question here. A rectangular block 6 cm by 12 cm by 15 cm is cut up into an exact number of equal cubes. Okay, find the least possible number of cubes. So we have a rectangular block here. Okay, this is a rectangular block. This is a rough one. Okay, so this rectangular block, we're going to cut this up and make small cubes. I'm just making it like this, but it's a cube, so it's 3D, but I'm just making. So we're going to take a bigger rectangular block and make it into smaller cubes. Now they're asking me how many cubes can we form with that. Okay, so for that, first of all, since they asked me about the least possible number of cubes, okay, it means that I need to find out the biggest possible cube that I can cut from this one so that I can get the bigger one, because the least possible means I have to get the bigger one. The more bigger I take, okay, that means that the less number I will make. So that's the reason, one of the things we have to keep in mind. After that, there's a cube. So one thing we have to keep in mind is that from this, we're going to cut into these cubes. Okay, so we need to first find out their volumes, because this is a rectangular block, which is a 3D. I just made it in a 2D version, but this is a 3D thing. So this, when I can try to cut it into this, that means we are cutting their volumes. Okay, so first of all, I need to first find out the volume of the rectangular bigger block. Okay, so volume of the rectangular. So this is equal to, this is your length, breadth, and height here. Okay, so we're just doing 6 into 12 into 15. Because it's a rectangular block, which is a cuboid, right? So volume of a cuboid is length into breadth into height, which is 6 into 12 into 15. Now, we got that one. Now, to also find out the least number, right? So number of cubes, okay. The formula for that, whenever they ask you to find out the number of this, number of that, what we do is we find out the total divided by 1. Okay, so basically here, we will take the volume of the rectangular block, right, divided by volume of 1 cube. Okay, that will give us the total number of cubes that we need. Okay, so first of all, I got my volume of rectangular block, which is here, right? You can multiply it and then put it, but since I'm going to put it here anyway, you don't have to multiply, that's up to you. Okay, now volume of 1 cube. Now, we need to find out the volume of the cubes, right, which are this. So now, to find that out first, the measurement of the cube is not given. We know the volume of a cube is a cube, right? But we don't have the side. So we have to find the side first. Now, since they said that we are going to make a cube from this rectangular block, and they said least number. To find out the least number of cubes, like I said, we need to find out the biggest cube possible. So let us find out the edge of the cube. Okay, edge of a larger cube. Okay, or edge of largest cube, we can say, that you can cut out from this rectangular block. Okay, so to do that, this would be, whenever the question says largest or the highest, something like that, when we say that, we have to find out the HCF of the three numbers, because we are going to make these cubes from this. Okay, that's why we need to find out, when they say the largest cube, okay, the edge of the, or the side of the largest cube, I need to find out the HCF of this tree. Okay, so edge of the largest cube will be HCF, okay, of 6, 12, and 15. Okay, so if I try to find the LCM of this can be divided by 3, 3, and 3. So that is the highest common factor. So your edge, edge of the largest cube that you can take out from here is 3 centimeter. Since we have this in centimeters, so this will also be centimeter. So I got my edge of the largest cube. Now the volume of the cube now. So the volume of the cube, obviously since it's a cube, the volume of cube is a cube, right? So that means this is 3 into 3 into 3. So this is the volume of 1 cube, and this is the volume of the rectangular block. So I just have to put the value here to find out the least number. Okay, so here it is 6 into 12 into 15 divided by volume of 1 cube is 3 into 3 into 3, right? So you can cut it 2 times, 4 times, and this is 5 times. So 4 to the 8, 8 5 the 40. So you will get 40 cubes. The least number of cubes that you can get is 40. Okay, so that is the first answer. Let us try with another question. This is on a cube now. Okay, so 3 solid cubes of sides 1, 6, and 8 are melted to form a new cube. Okay, find the surface area of the cube formed. Okay, so to find out the surface area of a cube, right, we know the surface area formula of a cube. We get it. To find that, we first need to find out the side of the cube, obviously, the new cube that is being formed. So these are the 3 cubes, okay, with sides, this, and this, right? And then it's being melted, and then we form a new cube, which will be larger, obviously. So this is the new cube. Now, They asked us to find out the surface area of a cube. We know the surface of a area. Okay, the surface area of a cube, right? This is what they're asking me to find out. The surface area of a cube is what? 6a squared. This is your formula. That means to find out the surface area, I need to know what's the a, or the side, or h we call it, the side of the new cube form, right? So let's say there are 3 cubes, okay, so which is 1 centimeter, and then we have the 6 centimeter, and we have the 8 centimeter. Okay, so these cubes are now melted and we will make a bigger cube. Let's say I just make a cube like this, a bit of a bigger cube, the new cubes we have formed so far. Okay, let me just make it like this. So let's say this is the new cube. Now they're asking me to find out the surface area of this one. Okay, to find the surface area of this one, I need to know what's the side of this one. Only when I know the edge or the side, then I will write it here and then find the answer. Correct? So now, this smaller cubes, okay, I'm just making 2D version of it. Okay, just bigger, but let me just make it like this. So let's say this is the 1 centimeter, this is the 6, and this is the 8 centimeter. So I'm going to melt this together and try to form a new cube, right? So to form this new cube, obviously, since I'm forming this new cube from this tree after we melted, there should be some similarity between those two, right? So basically, since I'm going to melt it and make it together, that means the volume of this tree, okay, the volume of these 3 cubes should be equal to the volume of the new cube. Why? Because obviously we're melting this one and making it into a new cube. So that's why the volume of this tree, okay, so volume of 3 cubes should be equal to the volume of the new cube. So if I just find out what's the volume of the 3 cubes, I will get the volume of the new cube. All right, so the volume of 3 cubes, okay, it will be just volume of a cube formula is a cube, right? So 1 cube is just 1, 6 cube is 216, right? And then we have the 8, which is 512. Okay, so if you add this up, we're getting here 9, 2, and 7. So that's the volume of the 3 cubes. Now this should be equal to volume of the new cube. Okay, now since we got the volume of the 3 cubes, which is equal to the volume of the new cube, we can find out the side of the new cube. Okay, so h or side, you can use whichever word. Okay, h of cube root of 729. So be cube root. Okay, because volume of a cube formula is a cube. So if I shift the a on that side, it becomes root over this one. So the a value here, 729 cube is 9. Okay, 9 into 9 into 9 is 729. So the value, the side or the edge of the new cube is 9. Now they've asked me to find out the surface area of the new cube, right? So surface area of new cube will be equal to 6a square, which is basically 6 into 9 into 9. Yeah. So that means you're getting, this is an 81. So this is 6, things are 48. So you're getting 6, 486. This is centimeter, correct? So it should be centimeter square. Okay, just keep that in mind. Volumes will be in cubes. When you're doing this, it should be cube. This is a volume. So we always have cube there. But if it is surface area or area means it should be square. Okay, so always keep that in mind. So this is the answer for this question. Okay, now let's try a few more. Another one, this is statement-based type questions. Since it's been last year, it was frequently asked often. Okay, almost half of the questions were based on statement-based. So we will try to solve some of this. Okay, now the first question here: what is the volume of 32-meter high cylindrical tank? Okay, so this is the question part. Okay, so that means this 32-meter high is from the question. So I will use this value for both my statement 1 and 2 as well. All right, now after that you have options A, B, C, D, where they say statement 1 alone is sufficient to answer, while statement 2 alone is not sufficient, statement 2 alone is sufficient, statement 1, and so forth. And we have C, statement 1 or statement 1 alone, statement 2 alone are sufficient, and both are not sufficient. So depending on how we solve it, we will take one of the options as your answer. Okay, so first of all, they have already said the volume of 32-meter cube cylindrical tank. Okay, they're asking me what is the volume. Okay, and then the height is given to you already, which is 32 meter here. So this value though I will use for both statement 1 and 2. Okay, so let me go with statement 1 first, right? Statement 1. Let us try to solve it. Here, let's say that area of its base. Yeah, area is, since this is a cylinder, obviously this one, this height they have mentioned here already is 32. Okay, and obviously this is the area. They said area of its base. So we call this as the base, right? So this is a circle shape. So obviously this one is the area of a circle. So which is pi r squared, which is equal to 154 meter square. Okay, so this is the area. Now, this is your first part and the height is given as 32, which I will use because it is already mentioned in the question. Now, they are asking me about the volume of a cylinder, right? So first of all, the volume of a cylinder formula is volume of cylinder, right? That formula is pi r square and h. Yeah, that's the formula for volume of a cylinder. Now, if you look at it, the area is given. The area formula is pi r square, which is this one, right? And then we have the height also given, which is this one. So if I just put this 154 into the value is 32 here. If I just multiply this two, I will get the volume of the cylinder. That means your statement 1 alone is sufficient to answer this question, right? Now, I also have to check for statement 2 as well, because we have an option here where they say statement 1 alone is sufficient, and while statement 2 alone is, so statement 1 alone is sufficient is here. This is one option, okay? And then also we have if the data in both, this one, if the data either in statement 1 and 2 alone is sufficient. So here also 1 alone or 2 alone. Okay, so these two options are the options that you have. So I also have to check for number of statement 2 as well. If your statement 2 is not sufficient to answer it, then I'll just go with A. But if statement 2 is also able to solve your answer, then you have to tick option C. So because of that, I need to check statement 2 as well. So once we are clear that statement 1 alone is sufficient, so I have these two options available to me. This and this is on this, and this is already out. Okay, because this says statement 2 alone is sufficient, while statement 1 is not sufficient, and both are not sufficient. We know that statement 1 is sufficient. So at least I know that it's going to be either A or C. Okay, so let us try and check statement 2 as well, right? Same thing, the volume of the cylinder formula will be that only. Now, from here, they have given me the diameter of the base. Diameter of the base means from here to here, which is dia is given 14. Okay, that means we don't need the dia, we need the radius. So radius is 14 by 2. That means the radius is 7. Okay, so since you know your radius, okay, so if you know your radius, obviously, let me just write the statement 2 first of all. They said the diameter is given as 14. From here, I know my radius is 14 by 2. Okay, that's how we find the radius. So this is 7. Okay, so we know this is 7 meter. This is your radius. Now, height, even again, like I said, this height is already given in the question. So height is also given as 32 meter. We will use this data as well. So with these two data, if you look at this formula of volume of cylinder, the formula is pi r square h. Okay, so pi value, we know it is 22 by 7. Okay, then r value, we found it as 7. So I'll just write it as 7 into 7. And then we know our h from the question that it is 32. Now, if I just cut it out and just multiply it, this will also give me the volume of the cylinder. So that means even statement 1 and 2. Okay, statement 1 alone was able to answer it, and statement 2 alone is also able to answer your question. That means my option should be option C, because in this option they say either statement 1 or statement 2 alone, okay, are sufficient. That means statement 1 also can solve it, statement 2 alone also can solve the answer. So option A will be cut out. That means your option should be option number C. Okay, so this is the way you solve statement based. Now, you may ask me why I'm not trying to multiply and get the answers. It's not required for statement based questions. Okay, because once I put the formula, and you don't even have to put the values also actually, because once I know I have my R, once I know I have my H, and I know what's the pi value, okay, I don't have to calculate and solve it for statement based, because in statement basis, they are not asking you what's the end answer. Whether you can solve it or not, that's the question. So as long as you know that you can get the answer just by writing this one, okay, and then when I just found out my height and my radius, okay, that is more than enough. I don't have to calculate this portion. I just wrote it so that you understand how it's done. But once you know what's the formula, once I know my R and H is available, you don't have to go and try to solve and get the exact value. That's not required. Okay, once you know you can answer it, that's it. All right, let us try one more. Okay, the last one, similar with this type here. What is the volume of a cube? Okay, so obviously for all statement based questions, whatever they ask you, you need to know the formula for it. So here also as one question, what is the volume of a cube? Now, we know that volume of a cube, okay, is a cube, right? So that means I need to find the value of a. Now, let us again go with statement 1. No datas are given here in the question. That means I will have to separately just use statement 1 and 2. Let me try solving with statement 1 first. Okay, now, the area of each face of a cube is 64 square meters. Now, when we try to make a cube, the question here is the area of each face. That means since it's a cube, we know all the faces are equal. Okay, and they said that the area of each face of a cube is 64 square. That means, let me take this face for example. Okay, this is 64 square meters. That means meter square. This is the area. Okay, so that means now this is obviously each face of a cube is of a shape of a square. Okay, so that means I know that in statement 1, since they said area of each face of a cube, okay, area of each face of cube, which is a square shape, okay, it is 64. That means I know that this formula should be a square, because each face of a cube is the shape of a square, because all the sides are equal. Okay, so that's why the area of each face means it is this area of a square. So this is equal to 64. That means I can get the value of a. If I shift this one, this becomes root over 64. That means your a value is 8 here. Once you know what's your value of a, I just have to put it here, which is 8 into 8 into 8, which is 512. That means statement 1 alone just helps me find out the answer. Now, again, as we did before, I also need to check about the second statement as well to see whether my options accordingly will give me the correct answer or not. Okay, so statement 1 satisfies. So same as that, here is one option where you have statement 1 alone is sufficient. Then we also have here statement 1 or statement 2 alone is sufficient. So that means I need to check statement 2 as well, because like we did previously, even here this option and this options has answers where statement 1 alone is sufficient written. Here it's not, because here says statement 2 alone is sufficient, but we know statement 1. So this is also out. Both statements together are not sufficient, not possible, because since statement 1 alone is sufficient, so these two options are out. I have these two options. Now, here also statement 1 alone is given, here also it's given, but here I have been given statement 2 as well. So that means I will check statement 2 as well. Now, in statement 2, it says the length of one side of a cube is 8 meter. Length of one side means these are called the sides. Yeah, so these are your sides and all that. So obviously, since the cube, all the one side means all the sides are same. So that means you're in statement 2, when they say one side of a cube, okay, all the sides of the cube are same. That means the value of your a directly here is 8. Okay, so since the a is directly given to you as 8 meters, I know I can use that formula, right? If I come here, volume of cube, same here, 8 into 8 into 8. So from that, I'll get 512. This is meter cube. So the same thing as well as we did before. Even here, statement 2 alone is able to give you the answer. That means this one will be out, because here it only says statement 1 alone is sufficient, while statement 2 alone is not sufficient. But instead, we can clearly see statement 1 as well as statement 2. Okay, with both of them separately, we are able to answer it. That means I will go with option C, where it says statement 1 or statement 2 alone are sufficient to answer the question. So your answer here also should be option number C. Thank you for joining us for this session. We'll see you guys in the next video.